The most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning. Weekday, 6 a.m. Eastern.
You know, a lot of people are wondering, are these freak weather conditions just a coincidence, or are they somehow linked? What's your take?
The take is this, is that all these things are the kinds of things that we would expect to happen as the planet warms up. And what we're seeing is that overall the planet's warming about 0.35 degrees per decade, and places like Greenland are warming up even faster, like 3.5 degrees per decade. And all of these events, from heat waves to stronger monsoons to loss of ice from around the world, they're all consistent with that. Where it gets a little bit tricky, though, is assigning any one specific event to say, oh, the cause of this event is definitely global warming. That's kind of where we get to the edge of the research.
I got you. But when you take a look at the numbers, the combined global land and ocean average surface temperature for June 2010 was the warmest on record. Before that, the record was June, I think, 2005. Is there a larger conclusion to be drawn, or is this part of a cycle?
Oh, no, there's definitely a larger conclusion to be drawn. You know, we're seeing things that haven't really ever happened on this planet before, like warming at this specific rate. And we think it's very well tied to increasing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere since the late 1800s caused by humans. One of the best places to look for information on this, you can go to climate.nasa.gov and see the graphs for yourself that show the correlations between these things. And also remember, it's not just the last 10 years, the last few years we're talking about. We have pretty good satellite records now that go back 50 years. We combine that with information from weather stations around the world. We have a pretty good record going back to the late 1880s that tells us all about how the planet's warming up. And on top of that, too, remember, it's not just evidence from that. We have evidence from the geologic record. We have ice cores. We have sediment cores from the ocean floor. All this stuff feeds together to tell us about how the planet's changing.
And so when you take that information together and you talk about this increase, as you said, 0.35 degrees per decade, what does that tell us about what eventually is going to happen? Can this be reversed? Can the cycle be reversed?
Yeah, those are really the million-dollar questions right now. What is it that we can do about climate change? Well, I think one of the things we have to think about is the planet is going to change and we have to deal with that. For example, we look at satellite studies, the ice around Antarctica and Greenland, we're losing ice into the ocean from all those outlet glaciers. Sea level is right now today rising at about 3 millimeters a year. If you just extrapolate those for the next 100 years, we're going to get at least a foot of sea level rise. But there's the possibility we'll get more than that, and these are the things that we really need to think about and come up with mitigation strategies to deal with. And we're doing the research to try to nail down these questions a little more tightly. You know, we're trying to understand just how much is sea level going to rise, just how much are temperatures going to go up, and how are weather patterns going to change.
Let's take a look at these two pictures of the ice island, because it was pretty amazing. This ice loss from the Petermann Glacier, the largest such event in nearly 50 years. There you see the before on the left-hand side. The chunk that broke off, it looks small in that picture, but 4 times the size of Manhattan. Now there are concerns it could make its way into some of the shipping ports in the north. What is the impact for folks at home that this has broken off up in Greenland?
Yeah, this is a very, very interesting event. There were some cracks that formed last year, and people thought it might break off last year, but it took until this year. This glacier has been thinning for some time, but the most important thing is that now this glacier has broken out. It's further back, it's receded further back than it's ever been. And we've got data from explorers that were there back in the 1920s to tell us what's gone on. But also, too, recent studies have said it used to be that we were just losing ice from the southern part of Greenland, the warmer part. Petermann is actually on the northern part of Greenland, the colder part, and that area is known to be losing lots of ice right now, too. In terms of implications, this big iceberg flows into the Nares Strait. That's an area where ice and water is exported from the Arctic Ocean to the south, so it may block that up. There's also now people talking about this massive iceberg. What's going to happen as it gets further south, gets into shipping lanes, it gets around oil rigs and other things?